Hi everyone, welcome to Reading with Eve, and let's get on with the bookish video. If I look a bit not 100%, it's because I am pre-filming some videos for you guys because today is the last day I can do it for the next month, basically. So after 2 days of a migraine flare-up and a bunch of other things that we women have to suffer through, I'm here doing my best, just trying to get that content out. Some days you can't give your 100%, and that's fine. So I'm giving what I have. And today's video topic is, if you like Gossip Girl TV show, here's some books that kind of match that vibe that I can recommend to you. Now, I'm pretty sure that even if it's not your cup of tea, you've at least heard of Gossip Girl TV show. It's pretty much the epitome of rich, entitled people who don't have to work a day in their lives, act horribly to each other because that's all they know how to do. Again, because they don't have to work for anything. And very entitled, self-absorbed, spoiled people who think they can get away with anything, and oftentimes they do because of their privilege. So the books that we're talking about here, they are in the same vein, dealing with entitled, privileged people who think that the world is just their oyster and they're, well, oystering, I guess. So yeah, if it's not your sort of thriller type, then I would say this video is probably not for you because, again, if you're looking for super likable characters, chances are you're not gonna see many of them in these stories. And I should also mention that a lot of these are YA because I ran into a few that I thought would be good for this video. However, I was like, actually, these would go better for this other TV show that is very much beloved by me, that I'm gonna probably film a video after this one. So I'll save them for that one because I don't want to repeat myself too often. So to start with, I'll talk about the two books that actually have Gossip Girl in their blurbs, like, the blurbs where people describe, oh, this book is X and Y together. So I'll talk about those two books first, and then it's just some of my personal recommendations. So the first book that has Gossip Girl in its blurb is Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Idemoy. I hope I'm pronouncing it somewhat correctly. And this is about two students who are the only Black kids in their prestigious school that is essentially Constance Billard and St. Jude's from Gossip Girl, as far as I'm concerned. And one of them is a scholarship kid, not very well liked among their peers, whilst the other one is actually, like, on a roll, really respected, it seems, but not quite, because both of them start getting targeted by this anonymous person revealing all their secrets to the entire school. And at first it seems harmless things, because nothing like that is really harmless, but things that you can't really go to authorities to complain about because it's just like petty gossip, but it escalates really quickly into something a lot more serious. Now, for me personally, I feel like this book didn't quite meet what I was looking for out of it. It just felt like it was written for someone other than myself, primarily to enjoy, and not every book is going to be completely for me. So for me, I think it was a 3.5 out of 5, which is still good. The pacing was it dragged in the middle for me personally. But as far as the whole environment goes, as far as the whole entitlement, rich privilege, this handles that to a T. And the plot twist, obviously, no spoilers, but I would say that the plot twist perfectly encompasses that rich people mentality of some rich people. I know there must be some nice rich people out there somewhere, I hope, not everyone who has access to money is a complete a-hole, but that type of rich people mentality that, you know, we want something a certain way and we don't care what we have to do to get it just because we think it's right and we have the resources to do it. It's infuriating, but it's something that is a very real thing today. And yeah, I think that this book has an important message, even if I personally wouldn't call it my favorite. Now, a book that I have recommended before in multiple videos, but I am recommending again now because it was one of my 5-star reads this year, and it's probably gonna go in my favorites at the end of the year, is The Mary Shelley Club by Goldie Moldavsky. Weirdly enough, this book is actually called something else. It has an alternative title because I was really excited thinking, oh, this author has another similar slasher book, but I checked the synopsis and it was exactly the same. So anyway, that's weird, but we move. This is described as Gossip Girl and Scream crossover, and it's actually really accurate. We follow Rachel, who she's attacked in her home by 2 masked assailants, and she ends up actually killing one of them in self-defense. It's revealed really early in the story. So her mom decides to move them to another city and enroll her into this prestigious school because she's a teacher there. And it doesn't really go well for Rachel. She doesn't fit in, as you can imagine. She's completely out of depth because they're entitled, privileged, all the money that she doesn't have. So yeah, she's fish out of the water until she runs into this group who are horror movie buffs. They're super into it, and they even go as far as conducting these fear tests on people who wronged them. They call it fear tests. It's really just pranks that go way too far, where they use these slasher and some other horror tropes, but mainly slasher, again, tropes and devices to get back at them. So bullies, cheating exes, just you get the point. And Rachel tries to integrate herself into this group, and she seems to succeed and finally, you know, get her sense of belonging after such trauma, until she thinks that there is someone interfering with these pranks and they want to cause real harm to her and her new friends. So this one is definitely twisty. It's definitely messed up in a lot of ways. It is YA, but it doesn't really read like YA to me. It's more a thriller horror about teenagers. It's not a young adult thriller horror. It stands on its own. It's just that the characters happen to be young teenagers. Well, young, you know what I mean. They're like 17, 18-ish. And yeah, I thought that it was really well executed. It definitely got me with its twists, and I did not see a lot of things coming. And I thought that it perfectly encompassed the whole rich people not knowing what to do with themselves. It's like, I don't know, learn a new hobby, because it seems really too much to, you know, be doing this to people just because you have the money and the power and the time to do it. But yeah, definitely matches the vibes that it advertises. Now onto books that they have been compared to Gossip Girl in reviews and whatnot, but they don't really have that on the blurb as their selling point. But I do think that the vibes are accurate. And the first one is They Wish They Were Us by Jessica Goodman. For me personally, this was, I think, a 3-star, so I wouldn't like go out of my way to recommend it to absolutely anyone and everyone, because as far as thrillers go, it was a bit on the weaker side, but I do think that it matches perfectly with what vibes we're going for this video when it comes to rich, entitled people. Drink how many times I say rich and entitled in this video. But we follow Jill, who is a part of this prestigious group in their school, and I mean prestigious because they have this interconnected network where they have all the test answers, all the ways to trick the system to do the bare minimum and still get into the best possible colleges and whatnot, invited to the best parties, and they even haze freshmen in the school to do tasks for them, think like sororities, fraternities, but in a high school. And they also take great joy in pranking them that way, because poor freshmen just take him. So yeah, Jill is grown very disenchanted with that because her best friend has been murdered by her boyfriend a few years back, and it turns out that it's a big possibility that the real killer is still out there, and it wasn't the boyfriend. So she goes on to a little bit of an investigation. Now, as I said, I think the actual mystery part of the story, it's not very strong and it's not very well done. However, as far as the whole teenage horrible behavior goes, I think if it was just that without the mystery, probably would have been like a 4 or 5 star, even depending how generous I was feeling that day, because it captured perfectly how power can go into people's heads. And it really reminded me of stories from Gossip Girl, like, when Jenny got a taste of power after Blair got dethroned in season 1 and she just started acting like a complete bitch. I mean, I love Jenny. I know that's an unpopular opinion within Gossip Girl fandom to even tolerate her. I love her. I loved her throughout her run in the show. No questions asked. But she definitely got a taste of that power and it's changed her instantly. Even someone like Vanessa, like, I think that was the point. Upper East Side corrupted everyone who came in contact with it. And in this book, like, her other best friend, she got a taste of that power to haze freshmen and whatnot, and she just became a completely different person because of it. So yeah, I thought that was actually quite well done. And I am still intrigued to read more thrillers by this author, but I don't expect much. I think they're just going to be, light, breezy, like 3 stars, but you never know. I might be surprised. The Counselors is next, so yeah, that's gonna be fun. Now, I would say that one of Karen M. McManus's books matches the whole rich people drama aspect pretty amazing, and that is The Cousins. And in this one, we follow 3 cousins who receive a letter from their grandmother inviting them to visit her on this island where they own a bunch of stuff. I think it's like a hotel chain or something that they own. And it's interesting because the grandma cut their parents out of their lives like decades ago, just said, you know what you did, and she hasn't spoken to them since. So that's why they're like, it's a bit iffy. Like, she cut our parents out. What does she want with us? But they get talked by said parents to go just to see what's what. Maybe they can get back on her good graces, and maybe they can get that cheeky inheritance. And things start getting weird because the grandma's acting really strange. Everyone around them is a bit suspicious, and yeah, I would say, again, for me, it's definitely in the bottom tier of Karen M. McManus's books. Not my least favorite by any means, but definitely not in my top 3. But as far as the rich people drama goes, it's definitely up there, just because, how much more rich and dramatic can you get when you have people on this essentially private island where they have this massive business and mansions and whatnot. And yeah, I still enjoyed it. I would still recommend it because it's definitely a summary, dramatic, entertaining read, and definitely twisty, even if I personally found some things a bit not what I wanted out of the book. Now we have People Like Us by Dana Mill. I'm not entirely sure. Some people actually said this is like Gossip Girl and Pretty Little Liars crossover, and I might have even mentioned it in one of my wrap-ups, but I honestly don't remember if I talked about this book in detail on this channel. you can tell how my memory's going. But, you know, attention span problems, different conversation. But anyway, this is about these girls who go to this fancy boarding school and they find a dead body of one of their classmates in a lake after a dance. And shortly after that, our main character starts getting threatening emails saying that if she doesn't do what she's told, her friends are gonna be exposed in more ways than one. So she kind of recruits the help of this IT tech sort of nerdy girl in their school to just track down who's doing this. And again, I would say I think I gave it like 3 stars as well. Like, it wasn't my favorite because I thought it was a bit slow when it came to the mystery, and I did not really like the twist. But at the end of the day, as far as the whole atmosphere goes, again, boarding school, rich people who think they can get away with not telling the truth to the police, you know, the whole atmosphere of these fancy teachers, fancy college applications, like people's futures being ruined, and then them trying to bribe others to, you know, not have to deal with their actions. I think that is still very Gossip Girl. And yeah, if you're just looking for something super light where you don't really have to think at all, this is definitely your sort of book. And I'm not gonna lie, this was partially a cover buy because I think the cover is gorgeous. Now, I have my last young adult recommendation. This one is actually the only horror book on the list, and I personally did not like this book at all, which I know sounds strange that I'm recommending it, but I think it's more the fact that the reason I didn't like it was because of the trope that makes it perfect to recommend for this video. So we have Flesh and Blood by Simon Cheshire. As you can see, it's part of the Red Eye series. I've not seen anyone, bar one YouTuber, talk about this anthology series, and even then they only mentioned Frozen Charlotte. It's basically a YA horror anthology where different authors just gather together and release books, YA horror books, of course, of different tropes, different subgenres, and yeah, I read almost all of them, and I really enjoyed, I would say, again, almost all of the ones I read. I only have, I think, Bad Bones left to read, but people said that one is easily the worst, and I've struggled to buy it for some reason. So I thought, you know what, I don't know if I'm gonna pick it up. But anyway, this one, we follow Sam Hunter, who moves with his parents to a new neighborhood and becomes a bit obsessed with his neighbors, which are this really rich family who have a daughter his age, and they think that they're hiding something because he hears weird noises at night coming from their house, and it's just a bit of you know, mystery, but then it becomes horrifying pretty quickly. But basically, like I said, I think I spoke about it in my tier ranking my horror books, actually, but I didn't like it because of the main character's choices. I felt like the way that he was going about, because the story's told from after the fact, so he kind of went back and provided like commentary. Oh, if I knew that this was gonna happen, I would have done things differently. And I just thought, you know, well, you didn't know, so this is what you have to deal with. And he ended up dragging innocent people along into his mess. But the one thing that infuriated me the most was the horrifying entitlement of the rich family they lived next door to, and things that they subjected the main character and other people to. Let's just say it's the epitome of, we're doing horrible things because we can and because we have the resources to do it. So yeah, I would say as far as the theme goes, it's the perfect recommendation, even if it personally didn't work for me. But check it out, see for yourself. just be aware that for a YA, this is very gory. Like, I wouldn't say it's extreme horror per se, but if YA had an extreme horror category, then this would probably be in there. So yeah, definitely. And lastly, the only adult book I have to recommend, although considering we have flashback sequences to roughly when they're like 19, 20 years old, I guess technically some of it could be considered young adult, but this is In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead, and we follow 5 friends who haven't spoken to each other properly in a while, but they have their 10-year college reunion and they go to meet up, but then they find out that this other person they went to school with thinks that their best friend, the 6th one in the group who was brutally murdered by what they thought was her boyfriend, this person thinks that actually it wasn't the boyfriend, it was one of them who did it, and he's willing to do anything to prove it, including ruining their reputation, their careers, and their lives. And why it reminds me of Gossip Girl, I would say it's that entire, Gossip Girl ethos was basically reputation above all, appearances above all. It doesn't matter how rotten our insides are, as long as we present a shiny outside to the rest of the world, everything is fine. And that's what this book reminded me of, because the lengths that our characters were willing in both the past and the present to go to cover up them just being horrible people. It was really reminiscent of that. And again, it featured some characters who weren't really rich, just like the Humphreys, although, I mean, let's not even talk about it. Humphreys definitely weren't poor by any means. But characters who were on scholarships and whatnot, trying to fit in with the rich people, and then the rich people who just were horrible, again, because rich, and how certain people definitely don't change just because they get older, and just dramas of cheating, backstabbing, which was, again, a staple in the show. I think that it's a fair comparison. And that is it. Here you have the books that are Gossip Girl adjacent if you're looking for the vibes to capture the feel of the OG Gossip Girl show. I am not talking about the remake since I have not seen it, but I've seen commentaries about it, and that was quite enough for me to know what sort of show it was, and I can see why it got cancelled, and that's all I'm gonna say on that. My to-watch list is way too long to burden myself with things I'm not gonna enjoy anyway. So if you did like this video, I really hope that you maybe would like to give me a thumbs up or click a subscribe button. I'm hoping to keep building my little community. And if you read any of these, please do comment. I would love to have a discussion about what you thought. If you have more similar ones to recommend, please also comment, and hope to see you next time. Bye!